Well, that's not the left side. These various doodads bolt there somewhere. Kind of going at this backwards. Howdy y'all, welcome back to Maverick Mods. Well, last week I got the engine cradle replacement front subframe suspension components welded in place. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, or you want to refresh what happened last week, there's a link. I think it's right up here. This week I'm going to add doubler plates to everything I welded up just to add a little bit of strength. So that'll cover the first part of today's episode. After that, I'm going to hang some sheet metal to take some measurements. So here we go. So one of the things I've been doing for the last day or so, half a day, last quite a few hours, is making the doubler plates for the subframe connection. And I've got a few of them done. Basically, just 1/8 inch plate steel cut into the shape it needs. This one, let's see, which one is the left outside? Making doublers is pretty much just a matter of cutting a template. Well, that's not the left side. Let's try the other one. Maybe I labeled them wrong. This looks better. This is the right side. Okay. Basically, you make a template, cut the shape out, and there you go, Bob's your uncle, basically. So, and all this is going to do is just give me a little bit of extra reinforcement at that series of weld joints. So, one of the things that in the doubler plate that will help is the more surface area you have for to join the two pieces of metal, the better off you are. So I just cut some holes, and these holes are basically just for essentially plug welds. So really not a big mystery in how to make these things, but I'll walk you through at least cutting the holes in one of these plates, just so you can kind of get an idea of how I've been doing this. There's no real science to this. It's just basically, once I got the plate cut, I've got it up against the side there. I've got my angles so that it fits flush, but I need to add the holes to it. Basically, it makes it a little tougher when all the angles are there. It's not just a flat plate of steel anymore, but it's just a matter of drilling holes. I'm using a step bit to get the hole sized, but I think either my step bit is just a little bit worn out, maybe a little bit dull on the very tip, but a nice sharp drill bit just to do a pilot hole. Once the pilot holes are done, get the first side cut. Find an area that I can clamp to. There we go. Nope, that ain't gonna work. There we go. And just clean the slag on that. Okay, work on the next part. And there it is. We got a doubler plate ready to run through the sandblaster, and also get a coat of weld-through primer on the back side just to keep it from rusting. Same thing with the frame rails. So I'll get the rest of these plates done, and we'll be back. Doubler plates are going in. I've already got a couple of doublers in, but we'll go ahead and stick this one in, show you how it is. I'm going to tack a corner or two and then use my big clamps to kind of squeeze everything together as I work my way around it. But let's get a couple of tacks in first. Now I'll just work my way around. Sometimes you use a hammer and come over with a clamp. That'll hold it. Once I get the tacks in place, I'll start hitting the plug welds. That'll help hold it. Now I work my clamp down the doubler plate. That's going to take a little bit more persuasion. Alright, so I can work my way along. Back edge is tight. At least one of the plug welds. Okay, I'm going to hit the center plug weld. Yeah, let me pull my clamp out, reposition it. There we go. Okay. We'll tack it on the side here. Now I can hit the rest of the plug welds in the center. Right here. Okay. Get that plug weld. Should we just do a tack on the side here? Now we'll do a little persuading right here. Alright. A lot of times what you can do is just drag without pulling the trigger. It's important. If you can't really see the back side, how your gap is, if you have a gap, just drag the wire. You can kind of, if the wire kind of slides underneath, then you got too much of a gap. Okay. It's always a good idea to let your weld cool for a second or two before you take the clamp loose. Alright, we'll get that last plug weld, and then we'll hit the perimeter. Okay. Alright, now I'm going to run a bead all around the perimeter, and the main reason for that is that way moisture, water can't get underneath the doubler plate and start rusting it out. Even though I've got weld through primer on there, you don't want to trap moisture in there if you don't have to. Oop, I think I ran over my tack there. Not supposed to do that. There we go. Better. Alright, I'll switch over to this side so I don't concentrate the heat in one area too long. Got it, got it, got it. Okay. I haven't done this on the channel yet. It seems to be a thing. There we go. But let's open some boxes. See what kind of goodies we got inside. This is just some basic stuff. Things you don't realize. Paint stir sticks. You know, the paint store will give you 1, 2, and you never seem to have enough. So I buy them by the gross. They got their packaging down pat. And strainers. That will come in handy when painting commences. Alright, so there's box number 1. What's in box number 2? Box number 2 is going to come in real handy real quick. This is a wheel width checker. You're going to be seeing this on the channel pretty soon. Alright, where's the bolts? Ah, we even got bolts with it. Okay. Here real quick, probably sometime next week, the idea is this piece right here, you bolt to your hub. These various doodads bolt there somewhere. This doodad bolts up here somewhere. And the idea is, when you get it all together, you can stick this up against your hub with it assembled and set a wheel diameter, set a wheel width, and then you can hang a tire on this and you can rotate it while you're articulating the suspension up and down and on the front wheels side to side to check for wheel clearance and tire clearance. So you'll be seeing this on the channel fairly quickly. What do we have behind box number 3? I don't guess there's a top and bottom to this. That didn't work. There we go. Box number 3. We have a fender roller. That's what that little guy looks like. I'm going to use it on the Firebird. Probably won't use this on all of the builds, but I want to maximize my tire clearance and the fender lip. So here in a day or two, we will be taking this guy, putting it together, mounting it up, and giving that a try. Sometimes during the day, and some days, I just don't feel like doing heavy projects. And there's always 1,000 little projects to do. I always keep a gallon of this stuff just kind of sitting around in the gallon, and I'll show you why here in a minute. You know, you can put parts in here, kind of shake it around, you don't spill anything. Granted, it's kind of like a parts washer, but sometimes when you got parts and pieces that just need some soaking, and in this case, this is the door latch mechanism on the Firebird. And a parts washer sometimes can't get all the grease and everything on the inside. I'll just stick these in here, let them soak, and it'll eat up the grease. Just kind of knock the top back on it so that nothing spills. And you can just kind of, once in a while when you walk by, just kind of shake it around. We'll pull that out here in a little bit and finish cleaning that up. I've walked by Shook the can multiple times just to loosen up all the grease and dirt, everything that's in this lock mechanism. Now it's time to clean it up. So let's pull it out. And we'll blow them off a little bit of air. That way. Then this way. Screws. So let's do a little adjusting. Let's see what that does. That felt good. It's in a little bit too much, but I can fix that. Felt a little bit better there. Okay, well, I'm going to leave that for there now because it suits the purpose of what I'm trying to do right now. So why did I just spend a good portion of the afternoon working on the doors? Well, I had to get the doors back into reasonably close to accurate position because next I need to hang the fenders and the radiator support, basically put the front end sheet metal on so that I can verify my measurements to get the forward portion of the frame rails, in other words the front frame horns, back on and in position. So let's do a Keystone Cops version of hanging some fenders. Kind of going at this backwards because normally you'd have the core support in first, but let's see if I can make this work. Oh yeah, it is. There went my shims. There we go. Well, I think I said this before, but if I didn't, I'll say it again. Because the original front subframe, the front frame horns were bent, when I had the, well, now that I've got, well, the car is still up on blocks, but for all intents and purposes, I can't trust those measurements. So I'm gonna kind of go about this the back way, kind of the backwards way, I guess you could call it. I'm gonna fit all the body panels, line those up, and see which one of my frame rail measurements is actually accurate before I go crazy and start welding stuff up. Take some weight off of the core support. This little weird ass jack that I made might actually come in handy. Last part of the puzzle for today anyway, of just checking everything on the front end to get the front frame horns set where I need to put them is, once I got the fenders on, got the core support on, I just needed to get the nose piece in place with the, and this is actually the front bumper as well, and so I needed to get these brackets right here, these guys, in place. Now those are the bumper brackets that normally would bolt to the front frame rails on the original Firebird subframe. So I needed to get those in place, and I needed to just verify, again, I talked about this before, but the one measurement that I had, aside from the lateral positioning of the core support, which is fairly accurate, the one measurement I could not trust because the subframe on the Firebird was bent, and there was over an inch difference between the driver's side and the passenger side, was the vertical height of where the core support mount should be. So now that I've got everything in place, I've done my laser alignment to verify everything, to make sure I check the body lines. The front end is height-wise where it needs to be. It's not perfect yet, but it's definitely close enough. Well, that's going to wrap things up for this week. Made some good progress, and the car definitely looks better with pretty much all the sheet metal hanging off of it. It looks more like a car again. Always good to see that. Of course, it's going to come on and off multiple times over the course of time, but hey, you know, a little bit of progress is always good for the soul. I certainly appreciate everybody watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. It really does help me out. Again, thanks everybody. Everybody, have a great day.